Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats for the second part of Adi and Hitomi's speak, their talk today. Take your seats, please. Come on, quiet in the channels. I know you're excited.
We're excited, Daddy!
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it back up for Adi and Hitomi. Quiet, please. Thank you.
So, where did we left off? We're here. So, what's happening now?
Oh yeah. Enlighten me.
Enlighten is right.
So, one thing to know about this journey. Oh, before we go there, so I was asked, what happens after this? And the question is, the caterpillar doesn't know what's going to happen after it becomes a butterfly, right? So I think we need to just focus on here and now, which would be this, and which is probably the most important or challenging time in the whole cycle of evolution. As I said before, there have been many different stages, and we are at different levels of density before we were on Earth. And you'll see why this is important. This was going to be a 4-hour presentation down to 1 and 10 minutes. So I'm not going to go into the details, just to keep in mind that there were different levels when we went down. There were different falls, so to speak. This is based on Steiner anthroposophy. So what are the current times? Okay. For those who's not familiar, this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek thing. OKRs, it's a very corporate slang that's objective and key results. It's like a management thing. So the current times OKRs are 3. First, we need to develop discernment. So, we did not have much of this before, and even right now, with the current and just past events, you could see not a lot of people had discernment. The other is to confront evil. So this is the time in our evolution where we confront evil. And the third is to reconnect with our souls. Okay? So these are the characteristics of the period we're going through. So let's go with developing discernment. What does that mean? It means ability to distinguish between ultimate and ephemeral reality. Ultimate reality that's created by this all-pervasive creator impulse that you can see everywhere in nature and in what's real true. And you can see that also not just in nature, but what's a real relationship versus an imagined relationship that turns out to be completely different than what you thought it was, right? What is actually real? That's what we're learning to distinguish. Makes sense? Ephemeral means it exists, it's there, but it doesn't have ultimate reality in it. It's just...
it appears to be real.
It appears to be real, it can be temporarily be real, but it's not part of... No, it can be tangible. The whole financial system is an ephemeral thing. It's not real.
It's not consciously correct.
The financial, it's not like money is real, but we don't have money right now. It's all debt. It's all being flipped, and it's not real anymore. It's monopoly. It's just a tool for enslavement and so on. So there's so many things that are, but they're not actually real. So I don't mean real as physical real, but real in themselves. They don't have an existence in themselves.
So is it like an idea? Is that a way to kind of equate it?
We'll go a little bit deeper and then maybe it will make more sense. And if it doesn't, then I'll... It's like, for example, in a relationship, you imagine that this person, wow, it's going to fulfill everything you needed and so on, right? And then it turns out completely opposite. It was not real. What you saw there was not real. But it looked real. It wasn't. So we're learning, but through that experience, hopefully, you learn to discern so that next time you will be able to tell what's real and or not, or what's not. And all these OKRs, what's the whole point is that once we move through this evolutionary stage and the pupa opens and we come out as butterflies in different stages of development, if we don't have discernment and the heavens open and spiritual beings are here again, we're screwed. It's like a jungle out there, and you have something that everyone really wants out there. So discernment is the most important superpower you can develop at this point in time. You know, so
it's like intrinsic trust, basically.
yeah, it's another way to look at this is to develop an internal reference system. So once you have an internal reference system, it doesn't matter what authority says, whatever they say, you are fully responsible for your own life. And this is like, I don't know, forgot in what gospel Jesus says something like, leave yourself, take your burden and follow me, or something like that. Basically it means you have to become fully responsible for your own life. And this has to do a lot with medical system, because that's where people feel most vulnerable. And talking about that, I was at a dinner about 17 years ago with a retiring assistant director of the WHO. It just happened somehow randomly. I mean, it wasn't even through me, it was through Hitomi, some friend. And you know what he said?
Chill, he said.
So, he said, like, I don't have a lot of time to tell you guys all the details, but what I'm telling all my friends and all my family is this: don't go to the doctor unless you're desperate. So, by the way, disclaimer, this is not medical advice or anything. So, develop an internal reference system. This is fundamental. And in regards with the internal reference system, we have 3 types of people on this earth right now. And you're gonna recognize them. And when you know that somebody is at that level, it's much easier to not be hard on them and on yourself. So you have the consensus people. These people have a reference system outside themselves, okay? So they might even say things like, oh, don't believe anything you say on the internet, right? Because that's the consensus, that's what everybody says. But if it's on TV, it must be true. Okay, about 80% of people are in a consensus stage. And then you have individuated people.
80%?
At least before COVID, that was the estimation. Again, it's an estimation.
80% of people are still in that system.
And if you think, what's the percentage of people who actually went for the cure? This estimation is based mostly on Jeffrey Wolf Green, the guy who created evolutionary astrology, which is absolutely fascinating and probably the most effective, best astrology that I've seen. And then you have individuated people. These are people who have the reference systems within themselves. So they would say things like, be the change you want to see in the world. Or first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. So their reference system is not outside. They couldn't care less about the outside. And then you have spiritual, and this is my estimation. Wolf Green says about 5%, I think is less than 1%. That people that not only say these things, but they live by these things, okay? Peace comes from within, do not seek without. I don't think I'm there. I find that incredibly hard. Love God with all thy heart, love your neighbor as yourself. That I understand. But, you know, sometimes the neighbors can be make it really hard.
We struggle with that.
But if you talk to someone and you kind of understand, you know, are they, for me this worked personally. It was probably like the most practical thing I've encountered in spirituality was this, because it really helped me understand why people, you know, like believe the way they believe and do things the way they do. Like, contrary to, you put the evidence in front of them, you prove it logically. I mean, you show it is there, and they still no, because that's not what you know, the mainstream belief is. But you have to understand that there's an evolution, there's a progression. We've all been consensus at some point in time. And we all still have parts of ourselves that are consensus. In certain situations, in certain contexts, we still behave like that without realizing, okay? And it's the same thing. So again, it's not an exactly division, it's more like a model that helps you sort of place things and be able to practically work with the situation. And this is also related to the idea of consciousness horizon. So the consensus people, their horizon is limited by what the consensus belief is. The individuated, they also have a limitation, but actually we don't need to worry too much about the spiritual right now. The main thing right now is to help the consensus evolve into individuated and to support the individuated to not lose hope. Because it can be pretty sad when you see like where the majority of people still are. But the good thing is, again, the matrix is crumbling, so more and more people are moving from consensus into individuated. And I could do a 1 hour lecture on this thing. There's 3 levels of consensus, 3 levels of individuated, 3 levels of spiritual, all with their characteristics. But you can look up Wolf Green's work, or Ian can call me back and I'll do another presentation. But again, it's consciousness, right? Okay, so now we're getting into the fun part. The second OKR for this time we're living in is to confront evil in this stage of our evolution. It's not something completely new. We've been doing this for a while and people have put it into paintings, as you can see here. But I think that one is St. George and the Dragon, about 400 AD or 14, maybe 1400. And Archangel Michael kicking Lucifer out of here. So what is evil? How do you confront evil? First of all, you have to understand what evil is. So Rudolf Steiner says evil is good out of time, place, or context. Okay? What does it mean? Who are the opposing forces? This is again a medieval painting in an Orthodox church. Humanity going up on their evolutionary ladder, and then the evil forces, the opposing forces trying to get us off. So who are the opposing forces?
Do you think it's us to talk shadows of us?
In a word, in just one word, They're not stupid, don't make that mistake. They're not stupid, they're incredibly clever. But they have a very limited consciousness horizon. Why? Because they're out of time and out of place.
Yes, without context.
Throughout our evolution, there has been many death and rebirth butterfly type consciousness initiations. These guys are the ones who did not go through those initiations. They decided to stay behind for some reason. So, not gonna stay too much on this, but at every stage, there were, we left behind certain aspects of ourselves. We detached from certain aspects in order to grow, to evolve. We had to do that. And these guys, they stayed at that level. So,
Well, they chose not to evolve, you mean?
Who's doing
yes, they chose not to evolve.
Okay, all right. Just
And at this point, they're fallen off the evolutionary wave. Okay? So it's either free will, pride, lack of courage. For some reason, they did not complete their initiations.
Who's that? Who are you talking about specifically? Right now?
Right now, I'm talking about the retards, the spiritual beings, but also humans, like us, like we all were, that did not complete their initiations.
That haven't evolved
Like
consciously.
NPCs? Like I'm trying to grab.
No, I'm not talking about humans living on the planet right now. I'm talking about the guys who are right now the bad guys. They're just consensus people, really, possessed by these beings. But, hold on.
But basically, they sold out on contract.
So, Catherine Austin Fitz was asked, who is Mr. Global?
She said she-
Who is the whole evil?
Yeah, she did say
Right?
that.
She says it's pools of intergenerational capital, deeply involved in a cult controlled by demonic interdimensional intelligence. So the retards are the demonic interdimensional intelligence. They're spiritual beings and former humans that did not complete their initiations, and because of that they have not evolved. So they're spiritually retarded. Because of that, they cannot get the body anymore. The body is too refined for their consciousness for them to come in.
Is Archon a synonym for this? Archon?
Yes, because they're very old. They stopped back. We'll go there, yeah.
So the only way they can keep their like hierarchy or whatever is make us stupid so that we don't.
I'll go into that in like the next minute. So what is it that they want? This is a painting from 30,000, 10,000 BC. And only one of the humanoids there looks human, and it's the one in the middle. So what does it remind you of? Because when I look at it, I see this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, mind control.
Let me introduce to you Dr. Corrado Malanga. You probably heard his name, but you don't really know who he is. He's the head of the team that discovered the structure, the mile-long structure underneath the pyramids. Recently.
Yes.
And he had that confirmed by 8 different agencies from different countries using different methods. And do you know what the mainstream science, the mainstream establishment and Egyptology says about these things?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Because they cannot refute it, so they're just hoping it's gonna go away. But what you don't know is that this guy who's is an academic, he's an organic chemist with published papers and taught courses, and I think he's still working for some, was working for some university, like a very high level university in Italy. For 30 years, he was doing deep regression hypnosis on alien abductees, hundreds of them, just in Italy. The estimation was that in Italy there's about 600,000.
Wow, that's insane.
again, he's doing 3-hour talks just to talk just about one aspect of his work. I only got 2 minutes on him. But he did that. He started with one person, sent to interview this person by the Italian Ministry for UFOs and that kind of stuff. And he found something really interesting, that basically what we know as possession is the same thing as alien abductions. And what we know as aliens is really what we used to know as demons. And funny enough, this is what he found. Hundreds of people, one after the other, the same figures were coming up. These people completely unrelated to each other. A lot of them women, like the majority women. And these were the things that were possessing them. And that's also, they had a very strict hierarchy. And funny enough, this hierarchy goes very well with the hierarchy of Rudolf Steiner's evolution of consciousness. So, at the top of the hierarchy, there's one guy that he looks humanoid, he looks very paternal, a lot like the description of the God of the Old Testament in certain ways. But he gets really upset when you start to mess with him and to tell him to go away and leave the soul alone. When you try to do exorcism. And funny enough, when you get really close to him, he looks like a fish. That's the fish guy from Men in Black. So. What does it remind you of? And then you have a whole hierarchy of beings that follow the same thing. So after fish, what do you have? Insects. And then there goes your reptilians. They're lower in rank because they're newer. You know, the evolution is not all bullshit. It's truth that's been, misused. Bastardized, yeah. But you can see it in here. There's definitely an evolution with these guys. And the more retarded ones are the higher in the hierarchy. And then you get to your humanoids, your giants, and then you get to the decrepit grays, yeah.
Those are the most common, aren't they?
Well, it's not very clear what those are. They seem to be like created. Yeah, and because they can be useful in that way. Anyway, but that's kind of where they want to take us to. So what do they want? So this guy, he's a scientist. He's a proper scientist, I mean. He says, well, I realized that it's not possible to study the aliens, he was calling them aliens, without knowing beforehand how our cells were made. And pretty soon I understood that the aliens were looking in us for something that they didn't have, something which we didn't know we had, that makes many men an integral part of consciousness. What do you think they were looking for?
Soul core.
Yep. Because they cannot hold the soul anymore. They're way too unevolved, too dense, yeah. And unrefined, I would say. So then what were they doing? Like these abductees in deep regression hypnosis were remembering how they were taken somewhere. It looked very technological, and then the soul was taken from them and put into the aliens for a little bit and then put back on. So the soul, the alien cannot hold the soul, but they just made some kind of astral machines or something that they get to rejuvenate themselves. Why? So being out of time, they do not have a connection with the source light anymore. They cannot create anything, they just pervert things. I mean, have you seen any Hollywood movie in the last 20 years? There's nothing new there. Yes, yeah.
No, I don't want to stop your flow, but when you say they can't create anything anymore because they lack the soul, is that why they manipulate us to create that thing for them?
Absolutely. They're very clever, but they you know, yeah, they just can't create. They also need a source of energy.
But even if they took our soul, not really horrible, but even if they took our soul, they wouldn't be able to be the love that we are. Surely it's like you're.
No, but they take it just for a few seconds to regenerate themselves, and then they put it back. They
Like adrenochrome?
They steal it for a bit.
they steal it for a bit. They kind of harvest us in that way. Not all of us. Here's the thing. You really need to go into this guy's work. If you say no, there's nothing they can do. You're God.
Right.
They're not. They have to obey. So at some point, he's talking with one of these aliens, and he says, "Get out of this little girl." And then the alien says, "I'm 5,000 years old. I'm so much smarter than you." And the guy says, "No, you're really stupid."
Good.
And he says, "Why would you say that?" He says, "Well, do you think that your master, Lucifer or whoever,
Right.
is gonna let you keep the energy you get from the soul of this little girl?"
Right.
And the alien said, I never thought of it. So he said, "Oh, you're 5,000 years old, you never thought of it. What do you think?" "I don't know." "Well, sorry, but you need to leave now." No, I don't want to leave." "Why?" "Because if I leave, then I cannot talk to you anymore." So Corrado said, "Well, why would you want to talk to me anymore?" "Well, because I don't know what to do. What if my boss wants to take my energy?" Right? So these guys are 5,000 years old, but their development stopped 5,000 years ago.
So that's why they do predictive programming, because we need to create it for them.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I
Yes,
fully
but-
agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They need your consent, yeah, and
Right.
to do it for them. You'll see. So, and they use mostly the people that are still in a consensus stage by manipulating the media and creating the illusion of what the consensus is. This is why you hear a lot about hybridization attempts, because they're thinking that once they manage to create a hybrid, then they can continue with their race, which is actually dying. And then they plan to get rid of us, by the way. Once they got their hybrids going, we're toast. Except I don't think it's gonna work. I mean, they are retards after all. So what do they need? And I had dreams. I mean, lots of things that I'm telling you about, I got it from different sources, but also got it confirmed. So I know it from within. I had dreams where these things have been confirmed in one way or another. And in one dream, I've been shown, like, I said, well, you know, what are all these elites trying to do? And this woman who was the speaker for the White House or something says, "Oh, look here." And she shows me a picture that looks like just the one on the right. And I say, "What's that?" And she says, "What? It's not obvious? It's a battery." So that's what the elites are working on, a battery for these beings that possess them.
Is that why they want to, they've got this war on carbon? Because I think it's really odd that AI is created from Silicon Valley, and then you've got carbon, which is,
We're made of.
we're made of, yeah. So, that, by creating something that's, silica-based rather than...
I don't know, it's something to look into. They really don't like us, they need us, they think of us as really like animals. A cattle, yeah, exactly.
It's hard to believe they hate us so much, isn't it?
Well, because we're so much more advanced than them.
And they've got no love, they don't know how to love or
No, I don't have this in this presentation, but Rudolf Steiner says, and I believe it, that he says the universe, I mean, back then it was globe, but the universe evolves, this consciousness evolves from will to wisdom to love. So the whole creation starts through a big act of will. And if you think about like life starts from a big bang, from a big act of will. But then as it starts to mature, it starts to get imbued with wisdom. And then wisdom becomes, in an individual, wisdom becomes inner wisdom. And the only way to, and then if that becomes love. So you cannot say, I want to have love. Love can only get distilled into an individuated being from inner wisdom. You have to have inner wisdom before you can have love. There's no other way. Well, these guys, they have a lot of will. I mean, they got the whole planet to go their way, right? And the majority of the people for something completely crazy and nonsensical. So, I'm talking about recent past. But, so they're still, you see why they're retards. They have lots of will, they have lots of knowledge, they have zero inner wisdom. And therefore they cannot have love.
They've distorted love, though. They've sold it as a commodity, as a horribly,
Pedophiles.
exactly. Well, they just sold it as a sexual thing.
Yeah, pornography.
Exactly, and it's just never been that. It's been something that's inside of you that materializes from purity. It doesn't materialize from this.
Well, it materializes from inner wisdom. When you take responsibility for your life, you realize that everyone and everything, any experience in your life, it actually reflects something within you.
Yeah, it mirrors that.
And that's where love can come from. Well, these guys, they're a different level of evolution, much farther back. So they're thinking like there's this spiritual being, some angels actually, where they introduce themselves as angels, that they want the knowledge and the wisdom you accumulated through your experience, through your initiations. They want to take it, but without them going through that initiation. So they think that they can do that. That's not possible. There's another thing about love. Unlike will and wisdom, love cannot be delegated. So according to Steiner, there's this being that's Ahriman, like the beast, that was delegated to teach us about will. Might is right, and so on. And then Lucifer was the one that was delegated to teach us about wisdom. Because you can delegate wisdom. You can, well, sort of, not inner wisdom, but you can delegate knowledge. But you cannot delegate love. Love has to be distilled and created within the individuated being. So the universe is going in that direction. The whole consciousness is going in that direction. Love is not, what they've told us, is the most powerful force in the universe. Yes, alchemized. So, and it can only be created within an individual. So if you think of the movie Alien, but in reverse, what they fear is that this being, this thing is being alchemized within us, and it will come out and hunt them. And then, you know, everything they show us is the other way around. The bad guys is the good guy, and so on, and all these movies. But yeah, the idea is that that's why they're retarded. They have no chance. And they cannot withstand, they're like the vampires. When this energy of love starts being distilled within the individuated being and starts to come out and starts to permeate the world more and more, it just burns them. There's nothing they can do. So it's kind of sad, but that's the situation. So how do you confront evil? They want you to believe that evil looks like that. And it's powerful, right? But when in actuality, this is what evil looks more like. Okay, this is from 14th century Hieronymus Bush, The Garden of Earthly Delights. Okay, that's what evil is. It's not Darth Vader. So what is evil? First of all, evil is not a thing in itself. Evil is just a corruption of reality. Okay? That's what's evil. For example, violence is a misuse of physical power. Physical power is not something bad. Physical power you need. If you don't have physical power, you can't survive, right? Hate is just a misuse of passion. So hate is not a thing in itself. It's just a misuse of something that actually exists. So again, we're going at what's ultimate reality. Okay, passion is ultimate reality. Hate is not ultimate reality. It's just a misuse of passion. It's a corruption of ultimate reality. What does this mean? That means there is an ultimate reality. So we just used evil to prove that God exists. The kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth, but men do not see it. Again. So what does that mean is that no matter how much power evil holds in the world and how much harm it does in the short term, it cannot last. Because it's not ultimate reality. It's just a corruption. So how do you confront evil? Any ideas?
With the truth.
Love.
Yeah.
Light.
Yeah.
Well, first is to realize that the battle is happening within you.
Yeah.
No matter how satisfying it would be to, I don't know, do things to certain people. The battle is actually within you. So there's a lot you can do.
Just change your frequency and just be kind to people. It's just what it's all about.
We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with the principalities and the powers.
Absolutely. And do you know why it's principalities and powers?
Yeah.
And why they're legions?
Yes.
Because they're so weak. There's never one demon possessing one person.
Yeah.
There's like 1,000 of them for a very weak person.
Yeah.
They're fallen angels.
Yeah. So, evil requires your consent. You have to consent to a corruption of reality. Therefore, why they lie all the time, right? It will use guilt, seduction, fear, and so on to get your consent. It requires your consciousness to be fragmented. What most people don't realize is we have multiple parts of ourselves, multiple aspects of ourselves. Not like multiple personalities, but aspects. And we don't live all the aspects of ourselves. Like you can have some artistic aspect, but you have to work really hard or something, so you cannot really live that part of yourself. Or in that way I'm talking about. For certain people, they're really fragmented. And trauma-based mind control, everybody?
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Done to the public.
Yeah.
Nukes,
Yeah.
for who doesn't know, nukes not real.
No.
But it's massive trauma control. So that's why you need discernment. You see, confronting evil, it means confronting corruption of reality. It means realizing what's real and what's not, which is discernment.
When you actually do that, though, you can feel yourself change. I truly feel that. It's like when you say, I don't consent, I don't submit, I just don't care what you call me, if you don't like me, I don't care. And once you actually say that, I feel like you change. You really do change within.
Yeah, different things I think work for different people. So I believe that works for you and probably for a lot of other people. I don't remember what worked for me, but I'm still struggling. So I'm fighting the evil in myself. I had lots of dreams. Gosh, I could do a whole meeting on just the dreams I had. But let's come.
We'll come if you do it.
Really interesting.
So the main question is, where are you not true to the reality of yourself? That's how you confront evil. If you just ask yourself that question, then your life will change. So for me, things were like looking quite alright from all points of view, and I said, well, this reality just doesn't feel very real. I would like to be more like a Jedi. I mean, that was to me at that point in time, like the idea of something spiritual. I grew up in a very atheistic, communist kind of environment, and boy did things change. After I just kind of said, yeah, it would be cool to be like a Jedi. But I'm not going to go into that now. But believe me, you can make a movie out of it and people still wouldn't believe it. So what are the major evil impulses at this time that we need to fight? There's two. One is going deeper into materiality, the transhumanism. And the other is the New Age, the occult and magic and so on. Neither of them want you to have discernment. They all want you to follow them because they're promising something, over the rainbow, that if you do it, this is gonna bring you to the fifth dimension or make you really powerful.
There's money in that.
Oh,
And the Christ crucified between the two thieves, it's a motif that's been around for a long time. Alright, so we've done the development of discernment and confronting evil. The last part is going to be quite short, is reconnecting with your soul. But by the way, all these three OKRs, they're not very different from each other. It's just looking at the same thing, but from different perspectives, in order to make it more clear. I think David Icke said something like this.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you remember who you are? Who can see the tree and the birds? Okay.
The monkey and the cat.
Who can see the monkey, the lion, and the fish?
Yeah.
Okay, so which one is it?
Tree and birds.
No, it's
Oh,
both.
yes, the lion and the monkey and the birds and the tree.
I see it now.
The fish is
Well,
the
it's the same with your consciousness. It's the same with your psyche. Okay, so you only see a part and identify with only part of yourself. In Gestalt psychology, they call it foreground and background. So we're identified with the foreground, and we're not really very aware of the background. The reason being that, well, there's many reasons. The idea is that they're a bit like yin and yang, and they're a bit opposite. They're like a polarity. So there's things that say, I am not that. And the moment you say, I'm not that, because you only were aware of the negative manifestation of that energy within you, then you start repressing it, and then it starts going into your subconscious. And from your subconscious, it will come up in dreams, it will start vibrating and attracting people in your life that reflect that energy back to you, because that energy wants to be lived. It's a part of you. It becomes like an orphan that gets quite upset. And then it can start manifest in ways that are very unconscious, that you don't realize. So the important thing is to realize that all of us have this polarity within ourselves. We all have a part of ourselves that we identify with, and then we have another part that we don't, because we're only being seeing the negative manifestation of those energies. Let's talk a little bit about the soul. How do you reconnect with your soul? So what's your soul like? This is an extract from Corrado Malanga's work, when he managed to separate the minds of the different bodies of the person and talk directly just to the soul. And boy, that's a mind trip. Because for the soul, everything is happening now. For the soul, there is no time. It doesn't have the concept of time. Your energy body doesn't have the concept of space. But the soul, which is the most interesting part, first, the soul doesn't like rules, is anarchic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it does follow a kind of common sense that aligns with the golden rule, treating others as one wishes to be treated.
Do no harm, that's it, right?
Exactly, do no harm. This one gets me every time. The soul walks alone. doesn't need to follow the crowd, not interested in money, power, or climbing the social ladder.
Right.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Yeah.
But it's always looking for his or her tribe for unity and for win-win situations.
It's so true.
The soul is not afraid of death,
Right.
but might be afraid of suffering.
Yeah.
The soul is very creative, it needs to create.
Yes.
And it's also curious and loves adventure. Make sense?
Absolutely.
He likes to tear things apart as well.
It wants to experience new things. And there's something very specific about your soul. Your soul has a specific vibration or frequency, and this will attract in your life the initiations that you need, these experiences that will expose the parts of yourselves that I was talking before, that you either need to integrate or to let go of. So you don't really need anybody to tell you how to connect with your soul. Your soul will do that for you.
That's a really beautiful picture, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Isn't it?
Well, my friend Marshall here made it using AI.
I mean, that really explains it, doesn't it? I mean, it's so good.
He's provided the text.
It's all right, don't
Your everyday experience,
Yeah.
your mundane, thing that you think it's not important, the thing that you kind of ignore, and when you have all the other worries, it's actually the only means you have to evolve yourself on this plane. Okay? Your everyday experience. Your everyday experience, it's, they say the present is a present, or the present is a gift. But hey, if you follow me, we can go to the fifth dimension. Or I can give you an implant and you can do all this shit. No, it's your humble everyday experience. And it is the only means you have. But it's a very powerful means, because your everyday experience will reflect who you are back to you, if you know how to look for it. So what if there was a way you could decode your experience in the context of your soul evolution or initiation? So you would understand, what does this mean when something happens to you that throws you off a little bit, or disturbs you, or threatens your status quo?
Probably is by repeating patterns, right? Like.
Well, we wrote a book about it.
Okay, all right then.
So what I've told you so far is the context. It's the context in which the book comes. So we've been working with people, with technology and so on for many years, and now I'm gonna let Hitomi give you a little taste of how you can work with your humble everyday experience to connect with your soul in some way. If you'd like to.
How is everybody doing? You still have energy to do?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. 10 minutes maybe. Everyday experience. Things are happening, initiation is happening all the time, but I think in your everyday mind, you don't see it. But if you just, expand your awareness just a little bit, you start to see things, you start to catch things. So let's start today. I will guide you through it. What we're going to do is, instead of catching the most negative thing, let's start with something that attracts us, because that's the same both sides of the same coin. So anyway, when we are like attracted by something, we sometimes just, but then let it go. But that's the moment to go a little bit deeper and see, what it brings. So what I'm going to do is I would ask you to just, I'm just going to guide you through it, but be with yourself and just breathe, relax, and then ask you to catch something that attracts your attention. But, okay, so if you can sit in your comfortable position, and if you can close your eyes, yeah. Don't worry, I'm not going to hypnotize you or anything. Yeah, if you can just breathe out everything that's in your mind or in your head, and then breathe in fresh air. And do that a couple of times, just coming back to yourself with every breath. You can breathe in through the soles of your feet, all the way to the calf, hip, the back of your neck, top of your head, and then going, exhale, going down, exhaling through your feet. Do that a couple of times. And just, I would like to ask you to just slowly open your eyes, just halfway in your dreamy kind of consciousness, and slowly look around the room and catch what attracts your attention. Very slowly, just kind of cloudy. And don't pick a person, but just pick something. There may be an object that catches your attention on the table, or a part of fabric, or the light that that's reflecting somewhere on the glass. Just pick one thing. Just object or part of object. Okay. Right. So, if you catch that object, just observe it a little bit. And we talked about frequencies. What is the special frequency of that thing that you chose that attracted you at this moment? The special nature of that thing that you're attracted by. And how does it feel to look at it? It might have a special vibration, the energy. You can use your hand to describe its special energy. Okay. And if you can find a paper and pen on the table.
There should be lots of pens and paper on the table.
Draw its energy. Draw the energy sketch. What I mean by it is, for example, I was attracted to a wine glass there a while ago, and a special way that was like yellowish, golden hue. And for me, it was like this. Like this. So I would just do this. Like just let your hand draw it. Let your consciousness draw it.
So don't draw the object itself.
Not the object itself, but the energy that you felt. And don't take more than 5 seconds to do it. Oh, does everybody have a paper?
What, you could just join the energy round?
Just trying to capture the energy or frequency. Oh, you can't hear. Oh, okay, sorry. Closer. Oh, sorry. Right. So what we did was to find something that attracts your attention. Just feel into it, and then feel its special nature as you feel it. And then feel it as a frequency or energy, and then just draw that energy sketch. Does everybody have something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. But if it was difficult and not getting it, don't worry. So it's okay.
And for some people, if what you picked up, you have some negative image about, tune into its frequency, and then whatever it is, remove the negativity. Try to leave the frequency without the negative part in there. So while it would be left there if you remove the negativity, or the negative feeling you have about it, or what you think is negative about it.
I can
So
hear
if
it.
it's the negative thing that you picked, okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. If it's negative thing that attracted you, still kind of capture the energy of it and draw that energy, and forget about the negativity. Just kind of filter out the negativity of the that the mind will tell you, and then just capture the pure essential energy. Okay. Right. And then if you can look at the energy sketch, how would you describe it? If it was negative thing, forget about the thing that you picked in the beginning. And just see the drawing, and how would you describe it in a neutral term? For example, it can be serenity, or joy, or vibrancy, strength, directness, something that's neutral. Okay? How would you describe this energy? So if it's difficult, if you can imagine finding that drawing that somebody else did, and you find it, and then pick it up, you don't know what it is about, but you just see this energy, how would you describe that? What's this energy like? What is its essential nature or quality? Okay. Anybody want to share? Yes, Ian.
Okay. I didn't do the picture, but I come out from. Sorry, I didn't do the picture, but I come out from when you said open your eyes slightly. I first saw Ben's red shirt, and I just thought that was a bright, vibrant colour, so I missed it. And then I come around to my iPad, and didn't really think about it. Obviously, you think of an iPad and technology, and it's intrusive, it's powerful, it's clever, and then you say take the nasty stuff away from it, and it just become a square box. It was just nothing. There's no feeling from it. It was just a square box, even though it's a very technological thing. So that was it.
Right. So what would you say it's square box? What would you say its special power, if any?
I didn't feel any energy from it. It's just like when you take the negative away, it's just like a
Emptiness.
yeah. Well, it's nothing. It's just there. It's just a pointless. It's a pointless thing.
Okay. Okay. Simple.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
simple and
Detached.
yeah.
Well, I chose the iPad as well, and I thought, oh God, nasty thing, awful. So I drew horrible things, and then Adi said, well, take out the negative. So, and I've just, I've just seen it as actually it is a useful thing, even though I hate them, really. But it is positive because it's.
How did you describe it?
Well, I saw its usefulness.
Okay.
Accepted it as useful. It was very simple.
Okay.
I looked around the room, I saw that bottle there, and then I saw that bottle, and I thought, water, flowing, so
Okay.
just, I'm quite involved. I'd like to do something with water. I think that's a way of getting the sleep woken up, hopefully.
Okay.
We'll see.
Thank you. So the thing is, you didn't really notice that thing until you kind of paid attention to it, or open yourself up to that special part or thing. And then when you filter out the negativity or whatever, go into the essence, there is a special quality to it that you might need, or you might find useful, or you might not worry about it anymore. So then if you can look at the drawing, what's your relationship to it, usually? What's your everyday self, usually? How would you relate to, what's your relationship to this energy? Do you use this energy, or was it new? Was it new, or was it unusual? You usually don't like it, or you actually...
Honestly, I've never thought about it so
Okay.
much. I've never thought about it so much consciously, where you take that object and deconstruct it as a thing. I've just thought it's an iPad, it does this, and it's a useful tool. But when you take all the things, it's spying on you, it's doing all the bad things. So when you take all the negativity away, to me it's just a
tool
box,
you can use.
But on the flip side, it connects to the internet, it gives you lots of information.
Yeah.
We've all
But the
looked at
energy
videos.
of it, the energy of the actual thing itself is just...
So are you somebody who is very feeling, compassionate, and like you like the flow?
No, I don't like people. No. I'm a lot more compassionate now than I used to be, for sure.
I think Ian is very compassionate. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes people, the foreground and background. So foreground might be, I like love, compassion, flow, watery, and then when that kind of people look around the room, sometimes they pick something very squarish, and that might be the new energy that might be coming to you, and you might get in touch with, but you would use it in a more positive way. So it's just a thing, or just what's the thing? That's how it is, and no emotion, just do it. That sort of energy. So yeah, that's one way to work with the energy. You can do the same thing with things that you really don't like, or people, and we have a lot of exercises in the books. If you're interested, please look at it.
So I've got a couple more slides that goes through this. So the idea is to be able to see things as energy. I mean, it's hard when you do it the first time, but after a while it becomes much more familiar. So what you normally do, you know, you're in the field of experience, you have a disturbance, so you have to go into energy domain, like what Hitomi just guided you through. So you find what is the energy of that like, and then you look at how is that you relate with that energy. And that's how you basically integrate aspects of yourself. How do you do that? Usually the thing is disturbing, so normally you'll see it as negative. Sometimes as positive if you're very attracted to a celebrity or something, some person, and so on. And then you have to peel off the different layers of judgment you have around it until you get to what's the essential quality, the symbolical meaning of that energy. This would be an example for a little girl who had a dream about a tiger. So what can that mean? How do you get from a tiger to a little girl? So we asked the little girl, okay, what was the tiger like? And she said, oh, it was terrifying. Okay, but if you try to go a bit less judgmental, you know, look at it, let's say, in a zoo from behind the glass, what does it look like? Well, she was still kind of afraid, and she said, well, it looked really aggressive. And then we asked her to do an energy sketch, like you just did. So that was how she saw the energy of the tiger, with something on top. So then we say, okay, so what does that energy, so forget about the tiger. Imagine you find this on the street. You know, what would you think? What does that look like, that energy? And she said, wow, it looks like something very powerful. And, you know, how would you translate this? What kind of power would you feel looking at this? And she said, oh, it's more like something very confident. And how could you use this in your life? It turned out she could be more assertive. So it shows that, okay, you already have this power in yourself. You already have this energy in yourself, but it comes at you in a form of a disturbing experience because you're not familiar with it. It's a part of you that you're not familiar with it. And once you become able to do this, you see everything as energy. Well, not all the time. And yeah, there's so much more to it. This was just more like a sample of this. It's not easy, but you realize what you did is like a shamanic thing, right? You stepped into beyond the veil, and then you brought something back. That's also within yourself. So you step beyond the veil of yourself.
That's another good picture as well.
Anyway, it's been a long evening, so thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Adi and Hitomi. That was mind-blowing, wasn't it? A little bit. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's fantastic. Shall we do any questions and answers?
Oh yeah.
Should we do 5 minutes questions and answers? Anybody got anything that they want to talk about with any of that? If you don't, or if you do, go on.
Okay. I've got a strange one really. Well,
Okay.
I don't know how to,
Welcome to the party.
oh no, I don't like these things.
Okay, shout then.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
All right then.
When it comes to demons, I've seen a few, right?
Put it to your
Hello?
That's
Yeah.
it.
I've seen a few demons.
So when it comes to demons,
I've
you've
actually
seen a few.
physically, and I've
Yes.
also seen ones that, for example, one time I had a row with a boyfriend long time ago, and he always had stuff around him. I could see it then, I wouldn't see it now. And then one night I had an argument. I was in Bristol. He went back off to the other side of town, and I went over to the other state. I looked around and I felt something there. So, and I saw two demons there. This is just two that I've seen. And am I talking this right?
If it's close,
Okay.
right up to you.
You need to put
Okay.
it quite close.
Yeah, there were two. Well, there were 1.5 beings there. One wasn't even complete, right, staring at me. But I had the presence of mind back then. And I just said to myself, well, they've got nothing to do with me. And I just turned over and went back to sleep. I just literally ignored them. Now, I've seen a few things like that. But what I've also seen is that I think some of these entities, or whatever you want to call them, get stuck on the realms. They're a bit like the asylum seekers of the dimensions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's your view on that?
I'm not an expert in demonology and stuff. I think you'd find it incredibly interesting to read Corrado Malanga's experiences. He had hundreds.
Who?
Corrado Malanga, the guy who's...
Oh, right.
You can watch his videos on YouTube. The English translation actually works really, really well.
Yeah.
There's people who can see them. The thing that you need to keep in mind is that you cannot see anything that it's not on your own frequency.
No. I've seen a lot of stuff, and not now, not so much, but I've seen a lot of stuff. But
So the main thing you need to ask when you see any entity, first of all, don't give them any power.
No.
But the first thing you need to ask is, who are you to me? Because they cannot interact with you unless there are aspects of yourself, parts of yourself, energies in your field that are on the same frequency. So then they come to feed on that frequencies.
What happens when several people see the same one, though? Which has happened.
No, I'm saying that they're real entities, but the only way you can see them is if there is a part of you on the same frequency with them. I'm not saying you have a demon in yourself or anything.
Oh no, I don't
I'm just saying, for example, like if I had a trauma in childhood, and I have a certain thing around something, and I haven't worked on it, like I don't know I have it, but I have a secret fear of some things. They might come up on that secret fear manifesting exactly like that, because they feed off of your fear, right? So, and because you have that frequency and they can come on that frequency, they'll do it. But here's the thing, you can flip that around. You can use them to see where you need to work on yourself. But I guess the most important thing is never give them any power. They're just retards.
But you know where you find them a lot? Hospitals and churches.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Good stuff. Anybody else? This lady here.
I just wanted to reiterate what Catherine Austin Fitz was saying about demons, because it is my belief that the fallen angels procreated with the sons, with the women of man, and produced the Nephilim, which are the giants. And when they died, their souls couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't go to heaven. They couldn't go to hell. So the bodies died, and they were the demons that roam the earth, looking for a body to inhabit. And that's what we see now: is the governments and the World Economic Forum, all the big elites, if you like, have got demons in them, and they're ruling the world.
I totally agree. I'm not sure if there's the Nephilim or not. There's also a slightly different view.
Some people call the archons. I know you mentioned the archons.
Archon means old.
So these are definitely very old, aren't they? These entities.
They're the retards.
But they can inhabit the bodies of people if you give them an open door. This is why it's so important.
And most people that are possessed, actually, they gave their consent when they were very young.
Yeah.
Or like when they were a child or something like that.
Well, with the childhood traumas. But even so, grown-up people can open a door by
selling their soul.
Selling their soul. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they can be very convincing. They're very good at that.
What I'm so astonished is that in the name of Jesus, the demons will have to flee, and they do. They count out to Jesus Christ.
Well, the Christ impulse or the spiritualization impulse or the truth impulse impulse, it's in all of us. So when we connect with that in ourselves, yeah, there's nothing they can do, because we exert our authority over our reality, and they don't have that. They just need to fly.
Excellent. Really good. Really good. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, God, wait, come on. Come on.
Hello? Hello? Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
I've got do you know how, is this, okay, do you know how, we've got alcohol, particularly hard liquor, right, also known as spirits. What is your input on that opening up a person's, a portal to allow these negative entities in there? Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah. So again, evil is good out of time. So alcohol, according to Rudolf Steiner, alcohol was useful in a previous era in order to get more in the body, to become more material. But it's not the thing that we need right now. Right now, we need to basically seal ourselves. That's why the Bible talks about seals and stuff. And to develop our own individuality. So the alcohol was sort of medicine, was a good thing at a past era. Right now it's not good. Right now it's going in the opposite direction that we should be going.
You mentioned Rudolf Steiner a lot in this presentation, and I don't know anything about Rudolf Steiner. I just know of him, and I don't know anything about a lot of these other people like, Blavatsky, the Theosophical Society, and all these other, Pike, for instance, and like even some of these authors like George Orwell, right? A lot of these people have been proven, or it's been proven that they're part of these societies, and Fabian Society, and I think Orwell was. How do you know, because you're a very smart person, I just looked you up on LinkedIn and saw all what you've done in your life, okay? To validate you, that you're, to prove to myself that he's not a shill, maybe, I don't know. Or maybe it's very, very crafty and you are, and that's just a good cover story. But anyway, I digress. Again, we're still.
My first and last name both start with A and end with I, so.
Correct, right? So there you go, right? You just ended up there, okie doke, that's all. But what about, how do we know, how are you convinced that whatever he said, all his quotes that are attributed to him at the very least, whether he said them or not, how do you know that is real to you? Or not some kind of a, do you know what I mean? Because I'm sure that you...
I don't believe anything, right? I had a slide at the beginning that says, don't believe anything, not even your own mind, but learn to listen.
About discernment. It's about discernment.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, Rudolf Steiner, because he never questioned the global, right? So he believes in, he kind of believes, but then he said everything's geocentric. It only makes sense if things are geocentric. All this spirituality only makes sense if the thing is geocentric. But he used the universe, the cosmos, because that's what was the language of the time, and he didn't question that. So I can see where, okay, I don't necessarily agree with what he says there, but I understand why he said it that way. So I'm trying to look at, like we did with the object that you pick. What is the essence? What's the information there that might actually be true? So I don't believe everything Steiner said, but compared to Blavatsky, he's very different. Compared to all these other guys, I don't know, he says lots of things that resonate with me. He really, in many ways, was sacrificing himself to help humanity progress, and that's why he was killed.
Okay.
But doesn't mean you should believe everything he says, but rather look at the sort of what's behind his words, what's the energy, if you want.
Okay.
And he was always for empowering humanity.
Thank you for that. And lastly, a man of your background, I'm sure you're familiar with, infrared thermal imaging equipment.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. You being a scientist and me just being, somebody that's been in the building trades, But I have a very cursory knowledge of them. I used to use them to determine, you know, like where a home would be, or a building would be losing energy, right? To find the cold and the hot spots, the relative hot and cold between the two, and to be able to, you know, fix that issue. Later in my use of that and being, I learned that they were also being used, for instance, women. Okay, there was an article that came across which fascinated me. This is like 15 years ago, where women were able to use these IR cameras, handheld devices that you use for what I just described. They were able to go to a bar and point them at the men at the bar and figure out who was a good guy and who was a bad guy by the energy, the heat signature of that. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but what you do,
no, but it's really interesting.
it's pretty much, you should look into it. And you can actually, you can find out if there was an evil guy or if there was a good guy, just from his heat signature.
I think men need that too, though. I think there's a lot of
Probably too,
women like
right,
that.
right. But I'm just wondering,
Absolutely.
that concept, like, how does that even hit you? If you haven't heard of it, you can process it.
I'm not surprised. So everything's patterns and everything's energy.
Right.
And energy can manifest in many different ways. So if you see a pattern, after a while you can use it. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I haven't seen it. I can't verify it. I think it's very important to have the ability to hold information without believing or not believing it. Right? So there's information out there, and I'm neutral towards it. And then later I might find something that verifies or invalidates it. I mean, for me, the flat Earth was very simple. I mean, it was during the pandemic days, and I don't know, 2021 kind of, and watching, conspiracies and stuff, and things kept popping up about flat Earth and all. And I didn't have any feeling one way or another. I was just ignoring it. And then there's one that says NASA lies, and I'm like, well, they all lie. Let's go look at NASA, because I have some familiarity with it. Let's see how they lie. And then I saw the video, and they filmed the Earth from space, and then they turned on the light, and they were filming the window.
Yeah.
And that wasn't funny. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, of course. And if they lie about that, they probably lie about everything. And then I started looking and, oh yeah, they do lie about everything, shape of the Earth and so on. But, we still don't have a very good model of the flat Earth. You guys know that Gleason map is not the map of the flat Earth, right? It cannot be. And, so
the coordinates for go on.
we need to find the model eventually, but yeah, that's how you work with model. But the ability to hold that information without having to believe it or not, it's really important for an individuated person, because then you're open to what is real or not, without committing to one or the other right away.
Excellent. We got one more question from that lady there.
Well, I'm not quite sure if I actually articulate this right, but when I read a lot of the books that I read Rudolf Steiner and a lot of those, but I feel that when you're in that feeling, like Neville Goddard talks about, and you have that flower of life where you've got the 6-foot ring around you, that's per se how they tried to do it during COVID. You kept away from people and so forth, but when you're in that frequency, it's like it ripples out to other people, and you can feel that energy, and it's like, I don't know, for me anyway, it's like when I actually listen to something that resonates, it's like I tingle within inside of me.
Yeah.
That it's so utterly truthful. And I found that at one point I was like throwing the baby out with the bathwater type of thing, because it's like, okay, you're taught to, like, within the reality, within our truth and movements type of deal, if you want to call it that. It's like 33rd degree Masons, oh gosh, they're all bad, or they're part of the, the Freemasons and the secret societies and all that. But I actually went through the Manly P. Hall teachings, and I found that amazingly wonderful for me. It's like, just because he was a 33rd degree Mason doesn't actually make him, per se, evil, right? So when I actually get into that coding, if you will, of like kindness and just being me and not letting the fear seep in. It's like things, I don't know if I'm making sense here, but things just seem to like materialize or happen or come into my life that, like even a cat, for instance, I'm crying and the cat will come up and say, well, you know, you're all right, and makes me feel better, and I stroke the cat's still purring and all that. But it's like, the more that you actually get into that thought process, it not only helps you, but it helps that flower of life 6-foot ring around the next person, the next person, the next person. It's like throwing that pebble into the water and it ripples out. It's like you can actually feel, like I've had a lot of people near me. I've had like horrible, horrible, horrible things happen, right? And yet you stay in that state where it doesn't, you don't let that really hurt you. It is hard to explain, but it's like that person eventually will come back and apologize or change because you didn't escalate to that level of.
Yes, so the way to defeat evil is not to fight it, is to rise above it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're raising your frequency, and then it goes away. But that means you have this ability to do and to work with frequency and to feel it. And not everybody necessarily has that at this point. Right? So then there's different things that work with different people. Some of the things we show in the book is how you can work without having any special ability or anything, and how to try to get there. But it's wonderful if you can do energy work, especially on yourself. That I totally agree. Like that's very advanced for most people. So you're already doing very, very advanced energy consciousness work.
Okay, one last question I actually have is, so, because, is this your wife, by the way? I'm not sure. Okay. All right, so your wife is quite, like has done a lot of work with dreams and things, right?
Both
so
of us.
Yeah, all right. So I found when I was a child, I had like a lot of dreams. I had like a lot of negative dreams also. And I had a lot of dreams where I could fly, I could go into other worlds and things. As I've become older and more of an adult, in the Matrix sense, not in the other way, it's like, I don't know, I mean, I have a problem with insomnia. I've had it for a long time. I don't shut the mind down sometimes, maybe. And yet I've done a lot of inner work, obviously. My question is, it's just like when I was younger, I seemed to have like lots and lots of dreams, and I was able to like ascertain what they meant and so forth. As a mature person, I just don't have that ability to dream anymore. If I do, it's very short-lived. I can't remember much. So is there a reason for that? Is there something that you can try to do to actually sleep again properly without waking up? And number two is like be able to dream again, because I seem like I can't do it like I used to. Or something I can't.
So dreams are important, but dream-like experience or messages are happening all the time, like you did in the exercise. So you don't have to worry about, everybody dreams all the time, you just don't remember them. It may be just because you're really living the dream-like things during the days, and maybe that's why you don't have to remember the dreams. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everything's a dream. My Aikido sensei, he used to go into diabetic coma, and then we'd wake him up, I would give him some sugar, and he would come out of it. But for the first 5 minutes or so, he's still somewhere else. And he looks at me and my friend when we figure out something's wrong, we give him the sugar, and he looks at us and he says, I went to the place where people go after they die. And then looks and says, are you for real? And we say, yeah, you know, you had just diabetes coma, but you came back. We're real. No. What makes you think you're real?
Exactly the same experience I have on mushrooms. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to wrap it up because I know you're all a bit tired. I've got a couple of things to say. Firstly, can we please give it up again for Addy and Hitomi? What a fantastic presentation that was. Excellent. Can I also remind you that their book is for sale. I think it's a fantastic read, by the way, so buy the book if you need to. One other thing I want to mention is on the way out, there is a piece of paper shaped like a card. We have some regular flat earth social people. One's called Mary, one's called Sarah. Some of you know them, blonde-haired ladies. Sarah, unfortunately, as I've told you perhaps before, is struggling with cancer. So what we're going to do is just sign the card from everyone, wishing her well, and we'll get her the card so that she knows we're all thinking about her. Other than that, next month, I'm not sure who the speaker is yet. We haven't sorted it out. In October, we've got Guy Anderson again, coming back to review his second book. And in November, we've got someone to talk to us a little bit about health and some other bits as we're coming into the winter, so it might make us a bit better. But for now, thank you very much for Addy and Hitomi, and thank you all very much again, and I'll see you next month. Fantastic. All right.